Sweet dreams. Hey guys, what's up? It's the Culture Detective here, investigating your favorite albums, and today I'm going to do an album review on the latest Strokes album, The New Abnormal. It's been like It's been a long time since this album had been released, and I have briefly talked about this album in a mini albums review that I did about a month ago. But now that I have time, I'm gonna do an album review on this album, a full length album review, because originally I gave this album a strong 6. And this album grew on me significantly, so much so that now I'm feeling a decent 8. Spoiler alert, but I actually enjoyed this album quite a bit. New York indie rock band, they are back, The Strokes. And they are a legendary rock band because they have a lot of very well known records under their belts. Of course, the most well known being Is This It? And it's been 7 years since they had dropped their last full length studio album, and that studio album, The Come Down Machine, is considered as the worst Strokes album by a lot of the Strokes fans. So the Strokes releasing a new album 7 years later does definitely catch our attention. But between the 7 years, it's not like the Strokes are completely dead silent. We have Julian Casablanca, frontman of the Strokes, releasing side projects under the name The Voids. He dropped a couple of albums, one of which ended up in one of my favorite records in 2018. We also have Albert Hammond Jr., who also released an album in 2018, which isn't really all that great, but one of the songs on that album ended up in one of my favorite songs of 2018. So obviously, the Strokes are not completely losing their touch. So they are back. The New Abnormal, with production from the one and only Rick Rubin. This album kind of does live up to its title. It's kind of abnormal, kind of weird. The production is really distorted and odd and experimental. The oddest and the most experimental since Is This It? And also, the songwriting is not as linear, not as solid. There are more instrumental detours left and right, more guitar solos, more flamboyant vocal extravaganzas. Shout out to Julia Casablanca. The New Abnormal. The album starts off with The Adults Are Talking, with its nimble bass, peppy kick drums, twangy guitars. It's a really groovy and sensual song, especially in the verses, where Julia sings with a more quiet, hushed vocals. And the song overall is catchy as hell, it's groovy as hell, it gets me dancing and grooving, and it's a really solid opening for the album. We also have numerous guitar solos on the album opener, plus a really crazy falsetto moment in the second half of the track, which I find kinda impressive. And then we have the second track, Selfless, which is a touchy-feely ballad with sweet instrumentals, smooth vocals, very silky smooth, and watery, robust instrumentals that just flow together really, really well. Again, Julian Casablanca. His vocals are really refined, and it just works really, really well on this track and on many other tracks on this album as well. And the third track, Brooklyn Bridge to Chorus, is a bit of a late 80s throwback, except the synths on this track are super compressed on top of the drums, and then they're super crushed up, and it just sounds really odd, but almost so odd and so quirky, it actually works in favor of the track, making it pop up and feel special. The hook is great, it's catchy, and there's another guitar solo in the track which adds a bit of a flavor to the track, which I really, really love. And then we have the track Bad Decisions, one of the lead up singles to the album. It's a very straightforward and accessible song. The opening guitars are somewhat of a derivative of an 80s or 90s rock band. And also, we have the Billy Idol writing credit on this track, of course. So it's pretty obvious that they had taken a certain amount of inspiration from Billy Idol's music. But I still don't think it's a terrible song at all. I do enjoy the driving drums. The chorus is, while it's kind of monotone, it's still kind of sticky in a sense. And I actually really, really enjoy the bridge. And I do like how sunny and positive sounding the track is. And then the next track is Eternal Summer, and I guess this is where the album sort of takes a bit of a nosedive. The keyboards and the guitars, they are blasted in full force, yet they sound really compressed and hushed. The falsetto vocals are the absolute worst on this track, not because Julian Casablanca can't sing falsetto, but it's more like his vocals are so processed, it actually sounds goofy. And then we get these The Wall esque Pink Floyd guitars sort of jangling in the back. And this track is over 6 minutes long, which is a little long for a stroke song, so I wish it's shorter. But afterwards, the album picks up its pace again with the track At the Door, which is a very humble and skeletal song. It get these it has these burning synthesizers with a lot of layers, and even Julian Casablanca's vocals are somewhat compressed and somewhat processed. But when they are paired with these compressed synths, they sort of create a somewhat sad and dejected atmosphere, I guess. The lyrics, they are dreadful. They are about escape, but you actually can't escape. And we also get these very ghoulish synths and nice rush of guitars that are very slick, and the ending of the track is very dizzying and psychedelic, and it's a very memorable track overall. And then we have the track Why Are Sundays So Depressing, and it is a pretty casual, relaxing, laid back swagger rock song, even though it does have a bit of a tired edge to it, which makes it slightly sad. Just a tinge of sadness. And I actually kind of enjoy the robotic squeaky synthesizers. The wong 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 synth sounds actually pair really well with the rickety scratchy guitars, and overall the track sounds very charismatic, especially with Julian's vocals. And the second to last track, Not the Same Anymore, is a depressing low key guitar song with a very nice nostalgic chord progression. It has a very slow, sludgy chorus that is loud, but also it sounds sorry. And we have lyrics like, I was afraid, I fucked up, so it just adds on to the guilt and remorse embedded within the lyrics of this track. And the ending of the album is Ode to the Mets, which is a slow burn ending. The intro actually reminds me a bit of a Queens of the Stone Age. Anyways, there is a really slow but gratifying build up to climax. And even though it is a climax, it's still kind of saddening, kind of tragic. We get this really hopeless performance on the vocals and the guitars, and we also get some shouty vocal moments, which adds onto the really hopeless, dreary mood of the track. But yeah, overall, I think this album is really solid. Even though in the middle it has a bit of a nosedive, I think overall I enjoy most of the tracks. I think it is one of the better albums of the year, actually. It has grown on me so much so that I think it might be in the top 10 album of the year so far, maybe even top 5. Let me think. Against All Logic, maybe slightly better. HMLTD, Black Dresses, Laura Marling, I guess. Is it better than Fiona Apple's though? I don't know. You'll be the judge. But anyways, my favorite track here is actually the album opener, The Adults Are Talking, and my least favorite is Eternal Summer. I am giving The Strokes, The New Abnormal, a decent 8 out of 10. So, have you listened to The Strokes, The New Abnormal? From 1 to 10, how much did you rate it? Like it, and subscribe if you want more, and thanks for watching. Also, I will be reviewing Charlie XCX, Rina Sawayama, Laura Marling, Quelly Chris and Chris Keys, Danzig, Nav, Drake, Ed O'Brien, Oranzi Pazuzu, Mare Cognitum and Spectral Lore, and many other albums very soon. So stay tuned.